Welcome to Distro Podcast.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of the Distro Podcast. Distro Podcast is brought to you by Distro.io, the better Upwork for long-term global team members that you can find and hire within a matter of hours through Distro. We've got our guest here today, Joe Gerrity. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, Joe, this is about you. We'd love to have you share anything and everything you'd like about yourself.
Cool. I came down to New Orleans for college, went to Tulane, and Hurricane Katrina hit after my freshman year. So I began flipping houses in the city. I felt really connected with the community, felt like I was making a difference, felt like it was somewhere that I could kind of make my own. And I spent a lot of time doing a lot of things, everything from sports writing to real estate to had a marketing company. I was doing pretty much whatever I felt like doing for a while. And that's sort of how I generally exist as a human. I owned a chain of retail vape stores when that was popular about 10 years ago. They still exist now. We're selling cannabis products primarily. And then about 5 years ago, we were getting into the CBD business on the retail side. And we found that the companies doing it were largely unprofessional. They were delivering subpar products and they were far, far too expensive. So I was fortunate enough to have a few partners in that business. And I knew a few other people who were good fits for the manufacturing side. And we launched Crescent Canna, which at first was a CBD tincture, topical, gummy company. And we did all right. You know, we got into a lot of gas stations. We got into a lot of retail stores. And very quickly, we found that those products don't sell at retail stores. They sell online. So we started pushing online more and more. And about 2.5 years ago, we were determining whether or not, and this is after we'd entered the Delta 9 THC Delta 9 THC gummy space, which was kind of a loophole created by the Farm Bill that allowed for the sale of Delta 9 THC products, which are effectively the same thing as marijuana products. So we sold those for a while. We were seeing our sales go up. We were doing pretty well. And we had a decision to make. Do we get into the gummy manufacturing side of things, or do we do something different? And one of my partners is a liquor distributor in Tennessee. And he and I spoke in depth and decided that it was time to take the plunge into something new, something harder. And we launched a THC beverage brand called Crescent 9 THC Seltzer, having pretty much no idea what we were doing. And on the manufacturing side, at least. So we built a small brewery. We started manufacturing products. We came out with our first product about 5 months later than we expected. We actually went to MJ BizCon, which is the world's biggest cannabis convention, with this huge setup and with these beautiful cans. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's amazing. Can I try it? It looks great." We're like, "Nah, we don't have any product. These are just filled with bad water." So a few months later, we actually did complete our first successful run of the product, tested great, tasted great. And we launched in New Orleans with the intention of being the dominant player in this market. We launched alongside a couple other companies that had the same idea, except for we were about half the price and probably 3 times as good. So we have come to dominate this market, and we saw the potential there elsewhere, and now we're distributed in about 15 states around the country. We sell online. We are nearing very, very close to selling 1 million cans of seltzer a month, which is a milestone we've been working toward for a while. And right now we're one of the biggest companies in the industry. And I believe that by halfway through 2025, I think we will be the biggest.
That is awesome. So just to recap, you moved to New Orleans for school, and your entrepreneurial spirit got you dabbling in a bunch of different things, kind of found yourself in the THC, CBD, cannabis type space with different products. You guys came up with a concept for a drink, and didn't really have much expertise in that arena. And flash forward a few years, you guys are one of the biggest ones in the space.
Yeah, we work with some very, very large co-packers now. One of our co-packers, they actually brought us on as their first THC product. They've made a huge investment in us. We made a huge investment in them, and they believe in it, and we believe in it. And at this point, it would surprise me if we are not rivaling wine in terms of total sales with the THC beverage space by 2030, which is a $40-50 billion a year industry. And more people are getting away from alcohol or supplementing their alcohol. For the first time in American history, more people use cannabis products on a daily basis than they do alcohol. And the writing is on the wall. I don't think alcohol is going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, but THC has always been there. And the reality is you can actually now buy these products in grocery stores, in bars, at music festivals. And alcohol companies were a little slow, especially the big ones, to jump on board. But we are seeing every day more and more major players in the alcohol distribution alcohol distribution industry jumping on board with these products and seeing the appeal of not necessarily replacing alcohol, but adding another product where they can make a lot more money.
That's incredible. Well, congrats on the growth and success so far. And I love the good, didn't know what we were doing, figured it out story, because that is the heart of entrepreneurship, is getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's fun. That's just good times. I mean, it's stressful. It's a lot, but when you actually think of an idea for a product and then you come up with your can and you come up with your the actual contents of it, and you deal with every single step along the way, and then you go to a bar and you see somebody ordering your drink and being like, wow, that's great. Who doesn't know you and doesn't know what they're getting into there, and then they just enjoy it, and then all of a sudden they're buying cases a month at the grocery store. And we've talked to a ton of people who are alcoholics, and they won't go to bars anymore that don't have THC beverages, because that's just what they want to be doing. They don't want to be there drinking mocktails or water. They want to have some kind of a social beverage, and this has really worked out well for a lot of people who are trying to either cut back or reduce alcohol, and people who are just consuming THC by smoking it or something like that, and are looking for a healthier alternative that's not so just kind of like, and I'm done. You can sit around and drink these things for hours if you want and not get particularly inebriated. So it's been a lot of fun. And I take a little pride when I walk down the street and I see that someone's littered one of our cans on the road. I'm like, yes, that's it. Those are my people.
Love it, man. That is so cool. Yeah, I'm a supporter of the cannabis THC industry as well. So I'm actually a little disappointed in myself that I haven't tried one of your products.
We'll have to send you some after. Shoot me your address. We'll make it happen.
We'll have to do it. So tell us a little bit about Crescent Canada today. What does the company structure or organization look like? How many people do you guys, have working on the team?
Yeah, so this was the first company I've ever done where I listened to a few of my older friends, and they said, look, don't use your own money. Just, you can find money for something like this. So we started making a business plan. We have about 6 partners in the company. We raised about $500,000 in about 3 days once we decided to just ask somebody for money. I think there were 12 or 13 original investors. They are all still on board. Nobody wants to get out. They're enjoying the wild ride. And we have, I think we just hired our 20th employee pretty recently, which is up substantially from a year ago. We now have sales reps in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. We're hiring 2 people in Alabama. We have 3 people in Louisiana. It's been quite a ride, and we've been really fortunate. I have a firm belief in business now that you really are better off with partners, not with employees in a lot of cases. And we've offered to our key employees, the crucial ones who are around for a while now, some equity in the company. And they take ownership at it. It's theirs. It's not just mine. It's not just the chief marketing operator or the investors. It's their company as well. And, they'll benefit from the success of it, and they'll benefit from, and they'll suffer if there's a failure. So everybody seems to care a lot about it. And that matters to me as a businessman, as a human, just knowing that if we're successful, everyone's going to join in with the success.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting complete buy-in and commitment is I mean, it's the ideal scenario for any person building a business or running a business. So props to you for creating that kind of culture and environment. So you mentioned that online has been picking up. Are you guys selling more retail still, or is it more online?
Yeah. So for a while when we launched the seltzers, we neglected a lot of our wholesale gummy operation, like THC gummies, and CBD has been going downhill for a while in terms of wholesale. And I would say in January of this year, maybe it was February, but for the first time, wholesale sales of seltzer passed our online sales. And that's not because our online sales are struggling. I mean, we're seeing 100% year-over-year growth, and we have been for a couple of years now in that avenue of sales. But the money that you can make in terms of actual revenue selling in the same stores that sell Budweiser, it just trumps online. I mean, I think online we've had our best month ever, 11 of the last 12 months, and it used to be a competition. I still joke with our marketing team who handles the online sales that they're getting killed. I mean, it's just a bloodbath now for them, but they're still having their best months ever every single month. So it's hard to argue with 10 to 15% month over month growth. It just so happens that the other side of the business is achieving a lot more than that, and the numbers are multiplying a lot faster.
That's awesome, man. That's very impressive, because you often in this type of industry, I've found that if your online is taken off, usually your retail is kind of coming down a little bit or plateauing, or vice versa. And so to know that both are growing at a pretty high rate, that's impressive. So
one of the things we do, I will say, is we don't price online necessarily to compete with our wholesale, our retail, and that's because we don't want our alcohol distributors and our customers really buying from us directly, unless that's something they want to do and they want to pay a little bit more for. Shipping a case of THC seltzer, it can cost $20 to $25 depending on where we're shipping it. And when you're shipping in pallet sizes to distributors by the truckload, that cost is closer to like $1 per case. So they're able to offer it at a lower price, and we're able to still benefit from those products being found in stores and consumers finding us and then buying our not only seltzers online if they so choose, but also our other CBD and THC products that aren't available in stores.
Did you guys have to go through a lot of red tape and complexities, like with different endless? We had on all sides of it, from everything from our online payment process or cutting us off one day because we sold the product that they know we sell, to having a legislative battle with the state of Louisiana that allowed us to survive as a company when we were faced with some long odds. Let's just say some of those powerful people in the state, the governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House, two of the richest people in this state and the most powerful, were all in favor of an outright ban on these products. And because of the grassroots effort of our customers and people who really just don't understand why these products would be made illegal to begin with, we were able to survive. And as a result, we actually wound up working with one of these billionaires who was originally for an outright ban of our products. So, traditional alcohol is seeing what's happening, and that's arguably the most powerful lobbying group in the country. I mean, they sponsor everything everywhere. If you've never been to an event, you'll see a Coors or Molson or Budweiser distributor who's part of that fundraiser or that political committee. So we're reaching a point where I think we're going to wind up seeing big alcohol taking our side, and that will forever turn the tide on this stuff, and we'll start opening up markets that are currently not allowed. On the other side of it, marijuana, like legal recreational marijuana, traditional marijuana, exists in a lot of places already, and those states are doing, in some cases, very well with those products. They're making a lot of tax revenue. They're way too expensive. They're way overregulated, but they don't want legal hemp to exist. They want their little carved out niche of the marijuana market to exist, and they don't want new competition coming in who's far cheaper and makes better products. So
it turns out the people who are the most anti-hemp going forward are likely going to be the ones that are pro-marijuana and have fought for years. This should be legal. This should be allowed for everybody. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe not that way. Maybe in a way that I benefit financially for the millions of dollars. In some cases, they paid for these licenses and lobbying for exclusivity in the market.
So let's transition a little bit, back to kind of your company, your team. How many team members do you have right now working in the company?
There are a little over 20. I think we have 20 employees, and there are 3 partners who are pretty active, have active roles: chief of marketing, chief of manufacturing, and myself.
Very cool.
So we have multiple facilities. We have a warehouse manufacturing plant in North Carolina that employs about 5 people, 5 or 6, depending on seasonal need. We have an office in New Orleans on Magazine Street. I think I just walked through, I think there are 8 people there right now. And then we have about roughly 10 people that work remotely from the various states where we have distribution as brand representatives or sales managers.
Very cool. So you mentioned also like getting these core team members, the foundational team members. It's so important, and in return, you've given them opportunities to become owners, which is awesome. How have you gone about finding these like key team members to be part of your team? These A players.
It's the core team has been complete luck. Honestly, I just know a lot of people. I own the retail vape stores. We've grabbed their, I don't want to say the top employees, but we have our managers there. And if you work retail, you're looking for something bigger and better. The woman who runs logistics for us right now, she was just a retail employee at the vape store, no college degree, and she's absolutely killer. I mean, we brought her on, and I gave her like 3 promotions right away and raises, and just said, you're great at this. Thank you. My director of sales, who's now the chief revenue officer, he was a sports writer, one of my good friends. He was writing about the Saints for the local paper, and they were purchased by another paper, and they pretty much asked everyone to reapply for their jobs. And he said, I would rather try this with you. So we brought him on, and he was killer. So we brought him on. I asked my friends if they knew anybody who might be a good fit for our director of beverage sales when we were launching the beverage. And one of my friends said, actually, I do know this guy. He's awesome, and I think he would love this opportunity. So we interviewed one person for that job. When we needed a formulator, someone had applied to my retail stores, and they passed the resume over, and they said, this guy is way overqualified for this. Maybe you could use him. So I talked to him, and he said, yeah, I've actually made THC beverages before. I said, fantastic. Come on board. Let's do this. We've been we have been lucky. There's no doubt about it, but treating people right is paramount to being successful, in my opinion, in business, and giving people the opportunity to show that they're not just a retail store clerk. They have other talent. They can do other things. They can be good at those things, and they can help you, and then rewarding them for those contributions. It's just, I don't know how people run businesses other ways, honestly.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious. Have you ever brought on someone outside the country to help you guys with different components of the business?
Yes, one person. We did. I did bring in someone to help us with social media in a certain way that we were not having success with here. And I joke, I'm like, when we have a company party, like, we're bringing this guy in from Kenya. Like, he's coming. He's been great. Really, really enjoyed working with him, and just lucky again, just happened to sort of cross paths digitally, and I hope that he can share in the success of it as we grow. So
that's cool. I commend you for that. It's not every business or company out there has the ability to explore, working with international talent or team members. But, I feel like what we've seen in the last, 4 or 5 years, like kind of coming right before COVID, and then obviously through COVID, it's become there's a huge demand for it now. A lot more companies are finding that there are areas in their businesses that can be, that can be run remotely, and they don't have to be limited to just their nation's talent pool or their local geography. They can have a global reach, and the success stories seem kind of endless. So it's
now that I think of it, we actually also work with a gentleman from India who does our digital mock-ups for when we have to make a picture of one of the celebrities we work with or something like that holding a can, or want to put a can into an image where it actually looks organic. We just weren't having a lot of success working with our internal graphic design team or the one we use locally. And we found this somebody, we put a posting online looking for this, and they applied, and they've been killer. I don't work with them directly, so it's hard for me to say too much about them, but they've been great. We've used them for, I think, 2 years now. So it's not a crucial part of the company, but it's definitely something that we're very happy to have the ability to utilize.
That's awesome. Well, as we wrap up here, what's like the number one either word of advice or lesson learned as it pertains to building a team, or a successful team in your experience?
I mean, everyone's a human. Some people, I've worked with companies where the person in charge treats their underlings, as they probably refer to them, as just disposable cogs in the machine. And that's just not the reality. If something bad happens to one of your employees, you don't think to yourself, how does this affect my company? You think, how does it affect that employee? And that's how you should always be looking at people that you work with, as, even if you're not friends necessarily, they're just people that are trying to get by and trying to live their best life, and giving them the benefit of the doubt when there is some is crucial. And not making, sometimes we hire people too who don't. Our logistics director, she came in as sales support, and we had her cold calling companies, see if they wanted to buy our product, and then she started taking on some other tasks that she was good at. And we're like, we don't need you calling people. That's not what you're good at. You're good at this. Let's see if you can do more of this. Let's put you in this role and really let you just learn and grow. So as we've grown, it's actually become a little harder to just bring someone in who we think is good and just find a spot for them. But early on, I mean, that's just what you need to do. You can't hire someone for a certain role, find out they're not good at part of it, and just throw them out the window just because they're not doing the exact thing you hired them for. You can always find someone else to do certain jobs, and if someone's good and talented at other things, you put them in that role, you let them thrive.
Well, it's no doubt that I can only imagine that most of, if not a lot of, the majority of your guys' success has come by way of the way you guys have built your team, led your people, in a way I'm sure maybe you've heard this phrase, multiplying, instead of trying to keep someone isolated in this one, box, you're trying to multiply yourself and your partner selves by building up these other people and finding the areas that they have strengths in. So I love it. What a cool story. We're pretty much up on time. Joe, thanks so much for sharing, your story, your background, and sharing some advice with us. Look them up, crescentcanada.com, right?
That's right.
All right. Okay. Joe, thanks so much. We'll go ahead and wrap up there.